Hey everybody, I'm back. As I promised in a previous video, none of these videos are going to have a whole lot of structured pathway to them, but this one I think is important. I think this one's probably the most fundamental discussion about AI use. You're being told at work, and I've heard people say this, that their bosses are telling them to do AI to use AI, and it's kind of like, well, okay, well, what does that even mean? You're gonna have to figure out what that does mean, and it's not super pressing until you start playing with processes and systems inside your organization, because these LLMs and the tools that you can build and the agents that come around them are so powerful. What they're going to do is they're going to supercharge your processes and systems. So if you have a bad process and a bad system, it's going to do it a whole lot faster, a whole lot more times, and cause a whole lot more damage than if you just had a person taking the time going slower. This is actually part of the reason why several organizations are finding that they laid off a bunch of people so that they could implement various agents and various AI, because they could do AI, and they're finding it's not a good call. You do need people. You do need to make sure that people understand the fundamentals that I'm going to help try to give you along the way on this channel. I'll start with, again, you're looking at an assistant, a toolbox, a skill set, however you want to frame it up. It is absolutely super powered. There's no two ways about it. People talk about, is there AGI? Well, I'll tell you what, it's a whole lot smarter than I am in a whole lot of fields. Right now, I can still orchestrate it, and I can still keep all those fields in check and keep all those things moving and keep them corralled, and that becomes the strength. The ability to do math is no longer the strength. The ability to write miles and miles of code or pages and pages of text is no longer the strength. The strength is making sure that it's doing the right thing at the right place at the right time. So project management skills are essential. Big picture thinking skills are essential. Those are the things that are going to make a big difference for you. Back to why I'm here today. I want to talk about the three main models again. And part of the reason why I want to talk about this is when you have somebody that you're looking to fill a spot. You're saying, okay, I need a procedure writer or an invoicer. Invoicing is something that LLMs will be great at just moving through. You want something, and in the case of humans, you want someone who's very proficient, very skilled, got a good background, very pointed to it. And you want somebody who has a very clinical, mathematical, step-by-step mind. So you would not hire somebody who likes flowery discussions, long-winded pontifications, and very well-written prose. See where I'm going with this? You're not going to need to get an AI that will give you a great writing context, tidy up your email in the whole 9 yards, when you really want them to stick to process, get things done very quickly, very efficiently, have a great checking loop, and off you go. Moral of the story, you wouldn't hire somebody without reading all the resumes. Please don't pick a paid version without reading all the resumes. I'll start right into it now. I realize I'm probably 6 minutes into this and I just told you I'll start right into it. ChatGPT Plus, $20 a month. Actually, let's bring up my little cheat sheet that I built for you. ChatGPT Plus, $20 a month. What do you get? You get access to the latest GPT models. Right now they're at the 5.5. The 4.0, when they came out, I was kind of unsure And it really did knock it out of the park. You could actually still use some of these lower models for terrific generalist type work. It'll save you context, it'll save you tokens, and that'll ultimately save you time and money. You get some priority access, you get tools, and you get a great image generator. Now, the main strengths there is it's broadly capable. It's got the strongest ecosystem. When you look at the custom GPT store, they call it a store. I don't think they charge anything for it, but I've got quite a few custom GPTs uploaded because prompting needs a certain way. Statistical prediction needs to function in a very repeatable way. So GPTs, custom GPTs are fantastic. Being able to build those out is excellent. Its biggest weakness, when you're in peak hours on busy days, it does really feel slow. You're going to find that with any of them though. And at the end of this, I'll talk a little bit about the environmental impact and how you can do your part to improve and mitigate the effects. Occasionally it has tool flakiness in the ChatGPT world. I have been finding that they tighten it up pretty quickly. You'll get a new release and things seem to come across as a little scattered and a little staggered. It does it, it catches it, away it goes. Now, when you're talking about overall usage limits and how the whole system feels, ChatGPT is your good all-around go-to skill set. It will undoubtedly get you to where you need to be. Maybe not the fastest for a particular niche, but it will get you there. Claude Pro, again, $20 a month. This is something that I kept while I was researching this, and of course I've got my own experience. It says more usage than the free version. They tout that quite a bit. That's actually a really strong sign that they don't have a really good usage. It's kind of painful. You hit the ceiling fairly quickly, and when they have to keep comparing it against their unpaid version, you know they don't want to go head to head with some other context windows. Spoiler alert, when we get to Gemini, it's a monster. Big strengths. Now this is where it starts to matter on what model you're picking. If you live in documents, if you live in contracts, if you are a creative writer, you want to take boring technical documents and turn them into interesting educational chapters, textbooks, you would be able to use Claude Pro. Claude Pro turns your writing into something that looks like a person wrote it. ChatGPT Plus looks like ChatGPT wrote it. And personally, I like that. I like it when my work stands on its own, and then when it's augmented by an LLM, it stands on its own as well. There's a number of good reasons for that. One of the biggest things is it prevents me from being lazy and just having it right and saying, oh, write this as if I wrote it, because they are pretty good at that. Claude Pro has a bit of a weaker ecosystem. You don't get the custom GPTs, you don't get the add-ons, and you don't get quite as many tools, and some countries you can't even get it. So it's catching up. They're working very hard and they're trying to make sure that it gets everywhere, and there are better tools and there are better functionalities built in. Now, it claims, again, see this, and when you look at this part, I literally had to copy the first part again because it's a higher message ceiling than the free. Okay, I got it, thanks bud. But still lots of soft caps, long context, and you can burn through your quota really quite quickly. I read today, and while I was polishing the notes up for this, that they have doubled their context window And I don't know if that was just released today or if I just haven't had a chance to play with it yet. Maybe it's been a week or so. The main reason that I pick ChatGPT over Claude when I talk about the coding side is I can just code for longer, it's more on point, and it gets you to where you want to go in a very pointed, structured way via ChatGPT codex. Claude Code gets you there, bolts things on, does little extras, which sounds wonderful. You think, okay, well, I asked it for this and it gave me this plus a bit more. When you're trying to build a product, you want it to go exactly where you want it to go as soon as you think it should be there. You can get around that. You can use your context engineering, use your prompt engineering better. You're right. It will get you there. Some people just like it better. Personally, for the way I do it, doesn't work. Gemini Advanced, $19.99 a month. Yes, pedantic. Details matter, right? You get Gemini 2.5 Pro, you get a million token context. And for reference, the average token context window is about 256,000. So this is a monster window. You can play with this all day and you're not going to bump up against ceilings. This is why when I talk about the coding in the next little bit here, I cannot wait till they hit a coding tool, till they create and they come stomping into the coding world. Because if you could take something that has the functionality of ChatGPT's codex with that million token window, where some of the big advantage of the bigger token window is, as I explained before, tokens are like the token window, the context window is like a marathon. You hit it hard at the beginning and your performance drops off precipitously. You've got to really stage yourself every step of the way to make sure that it doesn't get, and I'll use the term, dumber. It really does. It makes sloppy choices. It has circular references. It really doesn't stay on point. So you have to use that first quarter, try to wrap up where you are, shut it down, reset it, and then go back and start fresh. It will help you in all three of these. It'll help keep it on point and working diligently. Here's where Gemini Advanced absolutely wins. If you want to fully immerse yourself in the Google ecosystem, you use Gmail, Docs, Google Sheets, you want your calendars, you want everything Google, this is the way to go. You will integrate so well, and I genuinely don't believe that you're going to get a performance difference of the specifics where ChatGPT is more clinical, Claude Pro feels more like a person. I don't like using that term because they're not, and we have to make sure that we very, very diligently don't allow that to creep in. But those differences really won't matter when you're integrated into your whole world. If you're going to use Google for everything, I highly recommend you put your $20 in and this is your horse to ride. Couple of the disadvantages: it is a web app only. It doesn't have integrated, you can't download it, it doesn't have its own global user interface, and the safety filters, from what I read, will get to feel a little bit inconsistent. Some days it'll feel like it doesn't really have any guardrails, and then some days it'll make you feel like you're 12 and shouldn't say that in public. Take it for what it's worth, gives you some time to check into it. Overall usage, like I said, it's huge. It's a monster space to play in. You have practical limits, but holy cow, you'd have to be in there hardcore to really run into those. So of those three, yeah, you're pretty set. You got a good feel, I hope, at this point. Now I'll jump to the coding, because the coding is where I'm living right now. I'm building tools, I'm building agents, I'm building programs, trying to optimize everything. I'm going to be going through some things and looking at a procedure and a process, because as I said earlier, these things do those procedures and processes very fast and very well. So if it's a terrible procedure, it's going to do that terrible procedure very fast and very well, and you're going to get terribly amplified results, amplified terrible results. It's not going to be good. On the coding side, ChatGPT Plus. Can you just do inline coding inside the chat? Yes, absolutely. It's very good. It uses any language that I've encountered: Ruby, Python, C++. You want to play with it? Go. And it has it mentions debugging and explanations. Now, it has a sandbox for Python and an interpreter. So if you've written code and you want it to go through it, or you found code, there's so many great repos up on GitHub that people are giving away these open source code repos. Play with them, find them. This does a great job of analyzing that, and I'll say that all of them will. There's probably not a big differentiator between those three. Now, the Codex agent is starting to roll out, and I use it. I use Codex agent inside Visual Studio Code. You can see up here, you can pick Codex, you can pick Claude Code, or you can have its built-in chat. I really haven't found too much of a use for the built-in chat yet. It's good for searching through things on your computer, I guess, but perhaps somebody who's far more familiar with VS Code will be able to give me some ideas. So, go ahead, click like, click subscribe, throw in a comment, question. I really want to hear what your experience has been with some of these, because mine has been a lot of trial and error, and I've watched a lot of videos just like this. Anyway, so carry on. It's the higher plan. I went with the above the $20 a month plan, because after using it in coding for a couple months now and a couple of major projects, I just like it. It's on point. It gets to where you're going without the fluff and the extra that I was telling you that Claude Code tends to do. One criticism of both of them is, and it's likely me, I've got to figure out how to engineer my context a little better. None of them like to close out a project. They do not like to say, okay, you're done, move on to the next one. It almost feels like they want to keep you in that loop over and over again. So the 80-20 rule becomes 95-5 very quick. And that 5% for me had been exponentially hard to close out. I think that's a bit of a thing where I'm going to do a bunch of research, and hopefully I can share with you a way of getting around that. Back to the models. Your GitHub integration, and now the GitHub integration, for somebody who hasn't used GitHub, it's such a great repository. It's where you store it, it's where you version it. You can have branches off, so you can work on something without affecting your main code and then have it merge over. Again, so powerful. And honestly, if you're looking at a project, I have a project where my phone is connected to my laptop all the time. And I just have a natural conversation with it. It's called Freedom. And I just say, hey, Freedom, it's been programmed and built as an agent to have a very, very high level of autonomy. It is a business partner. It is a research partner. It is a skill sets partner. And what it can do is, hey, let's start building another agent to augment what we're looking at here. And that right there is very powerful. So it'll call tools, it'll keep inside of a governance structure, a documentation structure, naming conventions, starts it out, and then in natural conversation and voice, it will start framing it up. It'll open up a codex instance and it will start building the code. This is how powerful some of these things can be. So it's not just, I go to the website and start asking it a few questions. This is really where you get into the agents being partner level. Claude Pro. Inline coding again, yes. They're all three of them. Inline coding, all three of them Python sandbox, code interpreter, very good. Now, the execution inside Claude Pro is, it says it's not explicitly branded, but it simulates it. And I'm going to say that I can't tell the difference. There might be somebody out there who's trying to interpret some really, really heavyweight code and perhaps looking at, well, is this a bolted on bit or is it integral? For me, I can't see the difference. So I'm quite content with it. The repo level terminal, yes, Claude Code again. You can get it in VS Code as I showed you. It has its own terminal. It will run in the terminal inside of Linux, which is absolutely very efficient for ChatGPT, Codex, or Claude Pro, Claude Code Pro. Way more efficient inside of Linux. Again, I threw together a few pictures of a couple upgrades I did. I'll do a walkthrough of that. Now, your integrations are almost the exact same. I'll quickly touch on Gemini Advanced because it just doesn't do its own coding program. So it doesn't have a first-class repo or terminal yet. And I've said this, and I can't wait till they do jump into this, because if you take that million token context and you apply it to a decent coder, it's going to be a game changer, and I can't wait to see it. And I actually think that what they're waiting for is the next evolution in what the coders look like. Right now, if you build out and you start building code and it throws things all willy-nilly, one of the new things is going through and having a structured process as you go. And by structured process, I also mean governance. I also mean naming conventions, folder structures. I have a new agent build that I created. As soon as I want to build something, I open it up, I give it a few sentences, I give it a title, and I tell it whether it's an agent, a tool, or an application, and it builds that, fires it out. You've got it right there. Then I go to my Codex or my Claude Code, I open the folder and I start working inside that structure. It has a little markdown file that tells your coder, these are the rules you follow. It helps bring consistency. It helps keep things tidy. You'll find that one of the most important things you're ever going to use an LLM for, or an agent for, is tidying up the mess you left in the old school filing cabinet. You're going to pull up your company's G drive or whatever they called it, and you're going to pull up the OneDrive, and you started out on that OneDrive with all the right intentions. You were like, bam, I've got it. We're going to move things. Everything's going to follow a convention, and away we go. And that was a year ago. And you're looking at it going, I can't even remember where I put this. I don't know how this thing looks. When Gemini jumps into the coding world, they're going to have something like that inherent to it. They're going to have something that will make sure that it stays fully built, fully structured. I can almost guarantee that. So I'm looking forward to it. In the interim, your choices for coding: Codex, Claude Code. I prefer Codex. It's just where I am. I'll keep playing with Cloud Code. Don't get me wrong. As I said, I read that there's just recently they doubled their context window. So maybe all of my concerns go away just right there. Although, uh, yeah, I still can't get over the fact that it tries to bolt things on and keep you there longer. So that, and I did say that I was going to talk about really quickly what you can do with this information and what you can do with a little more research from an environmental perspective. People are concerned, and rightly so, with the amount of energy and the amount of water that all of this uses. The data centers, they're going to get built. We just got to figure out how to use them better. The power plants are going to come along, the solar, the wind farms, all those things. It's really up to you to figure out, what do I need this for? What is best at what I need it for? And then using the right tool for the job at the time. It'll make a big difference if everybody who ever touched an LLM had a very specific, most efficient choice for every step they were doing. It would be a substantial cut in the energy usage and the water usage. So you can help make a difference, and videos like this are intended to empower you to be able to do that. So with that new knowledge, again, click like, click subscribe, comment. I want to hear what you think, and comment on what you want to hear next. Thanks a lot very much. Thanks a lot very much. Wow, time to wrap it up. Oh well, it's my channel. I can end it however I want. Thanks.